Step number 5, the calendar. Once you know when you're teaching, if you're confined to teaching a certain number of days or weeks throughout the year, the next thing you can do is go ahead and build your calendar. And let me show you a simple way of doing that. I always print out at least 2 copies of my schedule. Okay. As I said, we're year-round homeschoolers, and we started at the end of June, and I plan by the year. So you can do the same. You can plan by the year. If you started in January, your calendar would say January through December, right? If you plan like the traditional public school, then your calendar would show maybe July or August or even September through maybe June or July of the following year. But my calendar, based on our year-round method, I'm only going to give you an example of these months. So of course I put a header, I have my months laid out, and I have a legend on the side. You can have your legend or your key however you choose. What I also like to ensure that I have next to me is everything that I need to do my calendar. I have pencils, eraser, pens, highlighter, permanent marker, whiteout. If you want tape or stickers or whatever, you can do that too. The reason why I always print out 2 copies is just in case it gets really, really messy. I'll go ahead and transfer all my completed information into my other copy, which will end up being a little bit more cleaner. So again, while you're doing this, you want to think about your state requirements. If you're required to teach for a certain number of days or weeks, then notate that somewhere on your sheet so that you don't forget. But again, in the state of Texas, that's not a requirement for me, so you're not going to see me do that. So for me, during the month of June, I gave him the month of June off because public school ended in May. So I wanted to give him a few weeks off before we started our homeschool journey. Okay. There are so many different methods of planning out there. I'm just going to show you my method. If it's confusing, I do apologize, but feel free to look at some other homeschool moms to understand how they may do their planning so you can determine which option works best for you. But don't make it too complicated, okay? So first I will start off by saying vacation. Do I already know that we're going to have a vacation or planned time off sometime throughout the year? For my case, I did. So in the month of July, I knew from the 15th through the 25th that we were going out of town. So I'll go ahead and I'll cross that out. I also know that I am going to take off for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Although we do not traditionally celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas, I am going to give him some time off because he still has friends that goes to public school, and I want to give him an opportunity to hang out with those friends by going to camps or doing sleepovers and things of that nature. So for Thanksgiving, I'm going to go ahead and give him, let's say, the 20th. I'll do the 19th. The 19th through the 26th. And for December, the last day of public school is the 18th. So I'll give him the 17th through the rest of the year. Okay. So now that I have crossed out our vacation period of time, and I've crossed out when public school will be out in our area, now I want to look at birthdays. So I want to take off birthdays Yes. His birthday is in the month of June, but he doesn't have, I gave him that entire time off anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out all the days that I gave him off during the month of June. And again, school ended in May, and I wanted to give him some time off before we started our homeschool journey. So now I want to think about anniversaries, other birthdays. Do I want to cross anything out? You also want to consider if you are expecting a child. Are there any dates or months or weeks that you want to cross out based on that? I also want to look at holidays, federal holidays. Do I want to give him federal holidays off? I probably will, because again, public school is not in session during the majority, if not all, federal holidays. And again, I want to give my son an opportunity to hang out with his friends. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross out those holidays as well. So for July 4th, I'm going to go ahead and give him July 4th off. There's none in August. There is a holiday on September 3rd, so I'm going to give him September 3rd off. There is a federal holiday in October. That's Columbus Day. The school's off. That's October 8th. And I also look at the school calendar. Okay, so I am looking at the school calendar as I'm doing this video, just to make sure my dates are correct. And for Thanksgiving, they are off during that time frame, but I gave him a few more days. And for Christmas, they are off during that time frame, so I'm giving him a few more days as well. So for the months that I am planning, June through December, I've considered our vacation, I've considered birthdays, federal holidays, and other days off that the public school may give him. Okay, so now I want to consider planning. Do I want any planning days, or do I want any random days off? For me, planning days are days that I give myself an effort for me to go back to my calendar, go back to my lesson plan, and determine if I need to make any changes or if I need to rearrange anything. So I want to give myself a few days a month. During the months that we don't have any vacation time or any days off, I do want to give myself some time in order to do those things that I just mentioned. So I'm just going to randomly choose days. Do I have to stick to those days? Absolutely not. That's the beauty of this. All I'm doing is identifying how many days I want off in order to just have a free day, just not do anything. And my son, same thing, not do anything, or days that I can use to actually plan. So again, I'm going to randomly select days, but I can choose to change those days whenever. So right now I'm going to randomly select these 2 days in August, and I'll go ahead and randomly select this date. I'm not going to do anything for June and July because we have too many days off during that time. In September, I'm just going to randomly go ahead and choose some days. In October, I will also do the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and randomly choose some days, okay? And then November, December, I'm not going to do that because we have vacation days already. So I hear my baby calling me, so let me go ahead and attend to her. I'll be right back. Something else you also want to consider are crossing out the days you know you're not teaching. So if you're not teaching on Saturdays or Sundays, go ahead and cross those days out as well. But as I mentioned earlier, we're year-round. To include our teaching days are Wednesdays, sometimes on Fridays after work, and Saturdays and Sundays. So that's why you don't see my weekends crossed out. In addition, when I give ourselves days off, those random planning or off days, I don't like to always do those on our instruction days because we're only truly instructing on Wednesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and sometimes on Fridays. I don't like to use those days as our days off, but at the same token, I will cross some of those days out because it's the weekend and sometimes we need the weekend to accomplish different tasks that we may not be able to accomplish during the week. Okay, so once I've done that, then I will go ahead and I will just count the number of weeks that I have per month. So here I have 1 complete week, 2 complete weeks, 1 and 2 days. Okay, so that's 7, 14, 15, 16 days. So I'll just mark here that I have 16 days of homeschool. I'll do the same thing here. I have 7 here, 3 and 1. So 7, 14, 15, 16, 17. I have 18 days here. And I'll do the same thing for the remainder of the months. So once I go ahead and notate that, I also like to determine how many instruction days I have. And again, that's just because how we homeschool. This may not be beneficial or applicable to you. Because I only teach a few days a week, I want to know out of these 16 days, for example, in December, how many days are my true instruction days and how many days are his independent days. So I teach on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So let's count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 days between Sunday, Monday, and Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. There's 7 days that I will instruct. Remember, I also said I instruct on Fridays, sometimes after work. So since there are 2 Fridays in this month, I'm going to go ahead and include 1 of those Fridays. So that makes it 8. Let's count again, just to make sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3. I'm choosing 1 Friday. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops, 9. I did not count this one. 9. So out of these 16 days, 9 days will be instructional. And the difference between 9 and 16 will be his independent days. So 9 instructional, 7 independent, that equals my 16 days of learning for the month of December. I just want to make sure that I calculate these correctly, so I'm going to recount my total days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for all the other months. And if you need a calculator, make life easier, please go ahead and use your calculator. I forgot to have that set aside and ready during this process. So once I have all that information gathered, then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and write out on the top how many days are we homeschooling for 2018. How many of those days are instructional days where I'm teaching, and how many of those days are independent days? And let me explain. I'm not sure if I did earlier in this video or in this series, or if you reviewed any of my prior videos. Instruction days are the days that I actually teach the lesson. We have lots of discussion, conversation, hands-on activity, examples, a lot of modeling. This is where we dive in deep and we teach. And I give him his assignments. And on his independent days, those are the days that he has like independent Bible study. He has a memory folder where he has to work through various things. He has topics that he has to work out on his own, like math facts and logic and things of that nature, independent reading. And he also has his assignments. So the assignments that I give him during his instructional days, he will use independent days to complete those assignments. So if we're learning a math topic and he has 20 math problems, he has to use his independent days to complete those math problems. He can utilize the notes that he took during our instructional time. He can utilize the various resources that we have in the home, to include his interactive notebooks or lap books to refresh his memory. And depending on the lesson, I sometimes record myself teaching those lessons to him, or I will pre-record myself teaching those lessons, and I will upload them on Evernote for him, and he can utilize those lessons as refreshers. We also have YouTube playlists that he can also use as additional resources to help him further understand whatever the problems that he were assigned. Again, just in case he forgets how to do something, because we're not doing the work or assignments the same day that we're instructing. He's normally doing it a day or two later. So, and this method, I like this method because I think it brings a lot to the table in terms of having him be independent and accountable for his work. I think this is how they teach in high school, and even in middle school. They instruct, give you the assignment, and you go home and you do the assignment. Or they instruct, give you an assignment with guidelines or a project, and that project is due within a week or sometimes in a month, or they may give it to you weeks in advance. And in college, same thing. The teacher does a lecture, gives you an assignment, and it's due a month later, and they expect that work to be done. Utilize your resources, take accurate notes in order to refresh your memory on what was taught. So I use that kind of method within our homeschool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead at the top and I'm going to total up our total number of instruction days, the independent days, and that will tell me how many days we are teaching this year. And these are my totals. If your numbers don't add up, go back to your calendar and count everything back out just to make sure you didn't make a mistake, okay? So for 2018, between the months of June and December 2018, we have 135 homeschool days, of which 77 are instructional and 58 are independent, okay? So if your state says you are required to teach a certain number of days per year, this is the number. So if you have not reached that number, then you want to go back and you want to shorten your vacation days. You want to remove some free days. You can go ahead and tweak your information within your calendar just to make sure you meet their number. Okay. Keep in mind, guys, this is 2018 only. A school year in public school is considered 2018 through 2019. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 7 months, we are teaching for 135 days. Okay. Normally kids are in school for 10 months. Okay. So if we did have a requirement to meet, if I did have to meet, let's say 170 days per school year, 2018 and 2019, I would absolutely meet that because, again, my calendar is 7 months for 2018. I didn't even consider 2019 yet. I do them separately. So 3 additional months would absolutely get me over the 170 homeschool day mark. Okay. So you would do the same process for your 2019 school year. And then you would go ahead and do your totals to make sure that you're meeting whatever state requirement you have. So for me, if I have 135 within June and December, January, February, March, April, May, that's 5 additional months. If a school year is from, let's say, July or August through the following year, May or June, I see myself absolutely being in like the 200s, 210 up to even 240 mark if I did my calendar the way the traditional school system did. Okay, so now that we have all that information, I'm going to utilize my highlighter and my markers to create my grid. I'm then going to determine when am I going to begin, when am I going to end. I'm going to highlight or mark all of my planning days in a certain color and my no school days in a certain color. So let's go ahead and let's say we're going to go ahead and start school on the 27th. So the beginning of the school year, I circled as the 27th. So in my key, I know that's going to be 27th. Okay, I'm going to end my school year on December 16th. So for the end of the school year, I'm going to my key and I'll go ahead and use purple. My planning days, which are the days that I just randomly selected. Again, I might not keep those days. I might change those days throughout the month, but I know I want those number of days. So I remember I said July 4th. Well, that was a no school day. I think I said the 10th, the 11th, the 27th. I randomly selected the 7th and the 28th in September and the 17th. And in October, I randomly selected the 13th, 22nd, and 30th. Okay, so those days in blue are the days that I said I just want my day off. Either it's going to be a planning day or it's going to be just me. I need a day off to do my own thing, like get my hair done, get my nails done, or just not do anything at all but read a book or stay in bed. The next thing I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my highlighter, and I'm going to cross out all the no school days. The no school days include our vacation, federal holidays. This is the time that we are just not going to do anything related to school, okay, for those reasons. And then I'll go ahead in my grid and I'll just highlight no school. So this is what my calendar looks like. I have all the information. I know what days we're not going to have school. I know how many days I want for planning or just to get off. I know when we're beginning and I know when we're ending. And I've delineated all that information within my calendar to include the total number of homeschool days. Okay? So then what I would do with this piece of paper, I would keep this piece of paper, but I would also go ahead on my laptop and I would do the same thing. I would just transfer this information to my laptop or my file on my laptop, and I would reprint this out as a clean copy from what I did. And then I would just pop that into my binder. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. That was step 5, the calendar, and how I do that. Also, what you may want to note, if you have extracurricular activities or if you have co-op, you may want to go ahead and add some additional information here on your key or your grid, okay? You may want to add something for co-op days. You may want to add something here for extracurricular activities, okay? And you can go back to your calendar, and if it's a co-op day, you may want to mark that as a separate color. And if it's an extracurricular activity that's once or twice a week, you may want to mark that off. Or if you have an appointment, you may want to mark that off as well. You can do that in this general calendar, or you can use like your planner, your personal planner, to mark those things off, especially if they fluctuate. If your extracurricular activity is only for a month or two, I wouldn't really put it on my homeschool calendar at a glance. But if it's, 6 months or a full year, or your appointments are 6 months or a full year, or your co-op, you're going to stick with that for 6 months to a year, absolutely go ahead and add that to your homeschool calendar at a glance, because when we start talking about lesson planning, you need to remember that information because it's going to help you make a decision as far as how long it's going to take you to go through a particular curriculum. So that was baby step number 5. The next baby step we're going to talk about will be a separate video, and it's going to be focused on the curriculum. After we talk about the curriculum, we'll dive into baby step 7, which is lesson planning. Those will be its own videos. The curriculum and lesson planning will be their own videos. And then we'll talk about baby step number 8 and 9, and that is basically how to keep organized and how to meal plan for breakfast and lunches during your homeschool journey. Again, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you found at least one thing useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. And as always, be blessed, guys, and make it a great day.